People in Scotland are kicking off against the net zero policies, and local authorities are escalating their measures to force people to pay their fines. The battle between the commoners and the elite continues. The people who are not happy about certain net zero measures, including the low emission zones, the ultra low emission zones, the clean air zones, the low traffic neighborhoods, so many different policies which are basically under the same umbrella of total control. Now, Glasgow is one of the areas being massively affected by these measures, and the authorities that are generally controlled by either the SNP or the Green Party or the Labour Party have been pushing this across the United Kingdom, but especially in Scotland. So we've been talking about all these idiotic policies on this channel on a regular basis. What's happening in Oxfordshire, the rebellion, and in Kent and Surrey and many other places, and now Glasgow. So we have a company in Glasgow called Dunn's Foods and Drinks. Now they face £140,000 in LES fines. The LES fines are the low emission zone fines. So in London, under Sadiq Khan, we have ULEZ, we have ultra low emission zones. And so in Glasgow, they only have low emission zones. And that alone is costing this business, is going to be costing this business £140,000 in fines. The firm has said that a delay in receiving new delivery vans meant that some of its vehicles would not meet emission standards, and they will be forced to pay this fine. And because it's one business, the authorities can easily identify them and go after them. It's not like individual drivers who are refusing to pay the low traffic neighborhood fines or the ULEZ fines. And in Birmingham, people rebelled and many people didn't pay it, and the Birmingham Council was forced to write it off. But when you have a very public business announcing and actually talking to the papers about it, they can't really get away with it. The police are going to come, they're going to arrest them if they don't pay the fines. So that is one big issue with publicizing your case on press and media, but it was their choice to do it. So they want to fight back. The low emission zones in Glasgow become a bit of a controversy, just like how ULEZ has become a massive controversy in London under Sadiq Khan. But fines up to £480 per day in Glasgow apply for non-compliant cars and light goods vehicles, and up to £960 for buses and HGVs. So this is even more than what people will be facing in London. So people will be paying more in Glasgow than in London, and the Glasgow version of it is just called low emission zones, but the London one is called ultra low emission zones, but they're the same thing. It's just the technicalities, the differences in terms of the standards that they have to meet, so the emission standards. So people are not happy about this. And this business that we mentioned, the Dunn Foods and Drinks, they came out to say, well, we're trying our best to comply, but it's just very difficult to now face potentially tens of thousands of pounds in fines to carry out our day-to-day duties, which are vital to hundreds of businesses in Glasgow city centre due to global events. Out with our control does not seem right. I am confident, the CEO said, that we are not the only wholesaler facing this situation, and I worry many other businesses could be affected too. I mean, will the authorities listen? I'm going to say no, because we've been saying this for such a long time. Nobody actually thinks about making any U-turn. Nobody is thinking about listening to the concerns of the people who are not just paying their salaries, but they are voting for them or against them. We are your bosses. You are not our bosses. This has been completely forgotten in our system over the last few decades, and I think we have to do a bit of a reminder to the establishment that who is actually in charge, or who should actually be in charge, because clearly we're not anymore. So this is the situation in Glasgow. The owner of any non-compliant vehicle detected within the low emission zones will initially face a fine of £60. Well, that is huge. The penalty charge will then double with each subsequent breach, rising to a maximum of £480 for cars and light goods vehicles and £960 for buses and HGVs. Once that figure is reached, the maximum fine will be imposed for each day that the vehicle enters the zone. The rate is reset to £60 if there are no breaches for 90 days. Wow. The Glasgow Council says that the size of the fine will only start to increase after the vehicle's registered keeper can expect to have received the first penalty charge notice. Okay? All penalties will be reduced by 50% if paid within 14 days. Oh, how generous of you. Yes, reduction of 50%. Oh, great discount. It's still a lot of money. And you can't expect people to completely change their lifestyle and everything in their business and what they do in their lives just because you have weak leadership when it comes to not really standing up to the green lobby and the vested interests. Absolutely chaotic. Anyway, that was the latest update for you guys. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.